Today we're going to be analyzing why northern Nigeria has dominated Nigeria for so long. Many people blame the British. They say when the British were going, they handed over more power to the north. But can you really blame the British? Saying that when they came into Nigeria, they met a more structured system of politics or governance or ruling in the north. We did two things: gain their respect, and the second was that it was useful or beneficial for them to use it in ruling Nigeria. In fact, it might have been one of the reasons why they had to force both the north and the south to come together, because they could use that in the north to rule one country. But the question is, when they were leaving, why is it that there was still more influence and power from the north? A lot of the military senior officials were from the north. A lot of businessmen that were doing well and being successful were from the north. Even down to the time when we got democracy. So how have the north been so successful in politics and business for so many years? The answer is tradition. You see, northern Nigeria has a better tradition of succession. They plan it, it's deliberate, a deliberate system where one generation hands over wealth to the next generation. Not just wealth, influence, affluence, connection, whatever the next generation needs. But it's not really the same in the south. The culture is more individualistic, even down to families themselves. Patriarchs of families leave the family not without spending most of his wealth, without leaving much down for the next generation. Or most times they don't even instill some values of leadership to the next generation. To give example of how the North have been doing this, let me speak about one of our former presidents, right? Democratic president, Umaru Yar'Adua, the brother of Shehu Yar'Adua. Shehu Yar'Adua was a very influential man at the time of his death in the Nigerian military, a senior ranking officer. So how did one family produce that kind of individual and still produce a democratic president? The answer lies in their father. Their father was a minister of Lagos in the First Republic and held a chieftaincy title in the Katsina Emirate, the title of Matawale, which means custodian of the royal treasury. And he passed down some values and knowledge and influence and affluence to his kids, such that these two brothers became so influential and powerful. To see that there's a deliberate attempt by northern families to maintain influence and affluence, Yar'Adua has three daughters. Three of his daughters are married to ex-governors. One ex-governor of Kebbi, another ex-governor of Bauchi, and a third governor from Katsina State. Moving away from the Yar'Aduas, let's go to Muhammadu Buhari, the current president. Muhammadu Buhari is the son of a Fulani chieftain and the nephew of a very popular journalist, Mamman Buhari, in one of the early republics. It is only obvious that even during his tenure as president, which is still ongoing, his children are more vocal than the children of his predecessors. His children are trying to be involved in their father's politics or in their father's branding or whatever you have it. But in the last government, I'm not saying that children should be, I'm just saying that there seems to be a trend. The last and the previous government, we really did not know who the children of the last president were. Let's move away from Buhari. Let's go to Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar was the opposition candidate in the previous election in 2019. Atiku himself was the only son of a farmer, a trader, who must have been doing well from what history writes about him. But at current time, or the time of this video being shot, Atiku's son was appointed the Saldana Ganye in his home state, which is a high position of influence. It is obvious that these men do these things deliberately. They want to make sure the next generation is more powerful and more wealthy than their own generation. Something that the South needs to learn. Another example would be Murtala Muhammad, a very popular figure. He was born to a Fulani ruling class. And his father was from the Jobawa clan, a very powerful clan, a very powerful man. And this same Murtala Muhammad became the fourth head of state in Nigeria. This is not a coincidence. Let's come to business, right? Aliko Dangote. Aliko Dangote, the richest man in Africa, is the son of a wealthy Muslim family. The son of Mohammed Dangote and Maria Sanusi Dantata. Maria is the daughter of Sanusi Dantata, who is the great-grandson of Alhaji Al-Hassan Dantata, the richest West African, at the time of his death in 1955. So the father and the mother are both wealthy. Al-Hassan Dantata was a northern trader in Kola North and Grand North, and was a distributor of European goods and supplied British trading companies with raw materials, and also had business interests in the Gold Coast. Like we said, at the time of his death, he was the wealthiest man in West Africa. But Dantata himself was also born to wealthy parents. Both his parents were wealthy Agalawa, a hereditary group of long-distance traders in the Hausa Empire. His father Abdullahi died in 1885. So, let's move away from this, guys. Let's come to some other people you might not even know. There's an oil businessman named Alhaji Zana Mai Deribe. It is reported that Mai Deribe was handed the keys to his father's businesses at the age of 20. His father, Alhaji Ahmed Mai Deribe, was probably the wealthiest man at some point in Nigeria. Mai Deribe built a mansion which has played host to the King of Spain, George Bush, I think, Senior, and even a former Prime Minister of Canada. These are wealthy men with affluence. But it's not all of the South that avoids handing over wealth. Arguably the most powerful figure in the Southwest, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is said to be the son of Chief Abibat Mogaji, a trader who eventually became the Iyaloja of Lagos. To become the Iyaloja of Lagos, you are a very influential somebody. You know, you have made money from trading. So he's the son of a woman who had made money from trading. All right? So it's obvious in his mode of politics that he did not just only learn from his mom, he also inherited her influence over, the touts and the area boys in Lagos. He learned a lot from this woman. One notable example that you might not know, who's trying to rewrite the way Southerners operate, is a man called Tony Ezena. He's a businessman and the founder of Orange Drugs Nigeria Limited. I know that he's trying to pass some wealth and influence to the next generation, because the last time I was there, his 3 children were in charge of the business. And not only were they in charge of their father's business, they were creating their own brands. So what you might have heard about Tony Ezena was that in 2019 he became famous for his supposed 8 billion naira mansion. But now I'm telling you something else that is worth emulating from this man. Now, why is the South so bad at doing this? One of the easiest excuses that you can make for the South is that Southern men, especially in the Southeast, marry very late. And so they are older when their children, especially their boys, start growing up. They don't have enough time to spend with them, and they can't really connect with their kids so that they can instill some leadership qualities and business mindset into their children. But that's just a simple excuse. There are cultural issues that are preventing the South from handing over wealth to another generation. One of these is ego. The Southern patriarchs run their family with a lot of ego, in the sense that a Southern father wants to become or wants to remain the only influential voice in his family up until the point of his death. And this is observation. This is not facts that you can prove. So I stand to be corrected. But I, as a Southerner, especially from the South, I have seen too many of these cases. I have seen cases where a man dies and his children don't have access to his wealth and to his properties, landed properties. Why? Because his siblings know more about his properties than his kids. Sometimes the siblings swoop in and seize the properties from the children. A lot of these men even die without leaving a will for their kids. It's a shame. The third factor that's affecting transition and succession in the South is our addiction to brain drain. The South is arguably fueling Nigeria's brain drain. After spending so much money in educating your kids, you then turn around and send them abroad to get further education, but then they never come back. While the North make sure that their children come back and they hand them over to influential people to groom, or they simply ask, what do you want to do with your life and what kind of support do you need? But the South does the opposite. In fact, if you say you want to come back to Nigeria in some Southern families after getting educated abroad, it is seen as rebellion to your parents. So while the North educates and bring back their kids to dominate, the South simply send away their children to become what? Employees and average citizens after working so many years and educating them. This is why if there is a popular scene in the South where you go to a house, a big house, and it's empty, and you ask, where's everybody? And they tell you that, oh, all the children are abroad. I know a story of a man I read in the papers. He struggled and built an empire, a company worth a lot of money, and has this one son. But you see, when the boy was done with his first degree, he sent the boy out to get a master's. On the return of the boy, the father ordered him to go back for another master's. This time, the father's personal assistant, who was worked with him for many years, saw an opportunity. The man was getting ill. And before the boy could come back from his second master's, the personal assistant somehow got the father to sign over the company to him and the company lawyer. So when the boy came back, he was left with nothing to inherit. This is a shame. I hope the story was fictional, but according to the author in the paper, it was a true story. I'm not bashing the South. I'm from the South. But I'm just saying, If we don't check our cultures and traditions and things that we are doing, the North might just continue to rule us for so long, because we will not have people who are strong and influential enough to compete. So this is a message to the wealthy men, people who have worked hard to get money in the South. Make sure that you are breeding your children to even be more influential than you are, to have more knowledge than you, and you give them the opportunity when they are still young to establish themselves. The unfortunate thing with a lot of Southern families is that they have to wait sometimes for their father or whoever is the head of the family to die. And at this time, the children are well into their 40s, and they don't really have the energy to invest and chase a dream or a business like they would have had when they were younger. But the North knows better. I have seen situations of people I know that once they finish their higher education, they come back and the family just simply ask, what do you want to do? Do you want to run your father's business, or do you want to start something? How do we help? This is a strategy that the South must adopt if they want to compete in the long run with the North, or else the North will produce more wealthy and influential people in the future, and we will be left serving them for long. It's not a war between the North and the South. I'm just trying to explain to the South that we need to do better with our succession plan and strategy in our families.